Hey, everybody, let's give it up for Philip Cameron. Come on.
Thank you, my brother. I love you. I love you. Thank you. Hello. Welcome to whatever this is going to be in the next little while. I am so glad to see you. This church has a partnership with our ministry that is such a blessing. Is Chrissy? Where are you at, Chrissy? Are you somewhere around? Can I find you? Come up here a second, will you? I don't know if you know this, but this church provides the most amazing aid for helping us in Moldova. And a trailer comes from the Orphans' hands down here. My son-in-law normally is the person that does it. And there you go. This is my better half, my long-suffering wife of 40-odd years. And tell us the part, because I know a lot of folk here are new. Tell us what this church does as far as providing clothes and stuff for what goes into Moldova.
Good morning, everybody.
She's Scottish too.
Well, my husband's a preacher, and I try to think of what title I have. Well, I guess
Boss.
No, I'm not the boss. I'm the scrounger. I'm the one that scrounges for everything that we need, mostly overseas, in the orphans' hands. But this church has been such a large part. I want to thank probably especially the women's groups and the ladies of the church that has helped us with the Christmas bags that you've been doing for the last few years. I sent Gilda some pictures the other day of the kids getting some of these lovely bags that you all made up, and of course also all the backpacks and school supplies that you have given us. And it's just such a blessing because it makes my job so much easier at the other end. So I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. It never ceases to amaze me that people who have never been to Moldova, but yet your hearts are so open that you want to help and you want to do so much for us. And we couldn't do what we do, if it wasn't. We're just a family. We're not a big ministry or a big organization. We're just a family. My kids, my sons, my daughters, my daughter-in-laws, my son-in-laws. We're just doing what we can. And I appreciate every little bit of help that comes our way. And so thank you. Keep up the good work. It's an ongoing process. But I thank you, and on behalf of the Orphans' Hands and for all the kids that can't be here to say thank you today, I want to just thank you on their behalf. Amen.
Tell them. She came in. She is the best shopper. I can't get her to buy a stitch of clothes for herself, but she can smell a bargain around the corner 5 miles away. And tell us some of the places you go to and get, because she looks for sales. The other day she came in with 100 pairs of sneakers, bags and bags. I says, where have you been? She says, they were $1 each. And I go, okay, good. Well done. Tell us the kind of stuff. So I know there are places here that you could go and get for just a few dollars. And if everyone does a wee bit over the year, when we come down here with our trailer, it would really make a difference. Because right now we have like 50 kids, 60 kids in Moldova, and all the kids from Ukraine. We've had a home in Ukraine for years. A lot of organizations are going to be going to Ukraine because it's a cool place to go, and it's in the news. I want you to know this, that we have been working in Romania, Moldova, and the Ukraine for 33 years. So when I've talked about Moldova, most of you all have no idea what it is or it exists until you heard me talk about it and weep over the plight of these orphan kids. So we're on the ground already, in motion. One of the things that we do with our kids, whenever they come from an orphanage, the quickest way to kill the orphan spirit, that need in them all the time, is to get them to give. So for years, our kids have been cooking and going out into the villages, caring for widows. They adopt an entire village for a year, and we identify every family of need, all the kids in the village. We identify the widows in the village and those in need, and our kids cook hot meals. and deliver them in clamshells to these widows. And they'll paint houses and dig gardens for vegetables for the summer. On several occasions, we have bought a house for a destitute family. And so our kids have been working on this for years and years. This is the DNA of what we've done. So when this horrendous thing that's taken place in Ukraine happened just a couple of weeks ago, I mean, it seems like years ago already, doesn't it? And our kids had no idea. In fact, Chrissy, tell them, where were you when all this began to unfold? You had gone to Moldova to do what?
Our container had arrived in Moldova in February. And Melody and I went over there to finish Melody, our oldest daughter. We went over there to finish the last house. All the furniture and all the supplies that we needed for the house were in this container. And while we were there, my husband suggested that we go up into the Ukraine and bring the Christmas gifts up to our girls in the house that we have in Odessa.
We hadn't seen for a year because of the pandemic.
Yeah. So unbeknownst to me, I didn't hear about Biden's speech about saying that he wanted all Americans out of the Ukraine by the weekend. Well, Melody and I were going in on the Sunday when he wanted everybody out. He wanted us to go there and spend a couple of nights. And I said, what's this I'm hearing about Biden's? He wants all Americans out, and you want us to go in and stay there for a few days. But anyway, we went in, we spent the day with our girls, giving them their Christmas. We took them out for supper that night into the city. And Odessa is a beautiful, beautiful city. And everybody was out enjoying, eating in restaurants. Not a clue of what was coming in a few days to be on their doorstep. But I'm just so grateful that we're able to get our girls out. You saw some of our Ukrainian girls were on the video this morning. And then, of course, finally, our house parent, Maria, and the last girl, they just left to join us a couple of days ago. So I was relieved to hear that they were going to do that. So
let's get back to bargains.
I know. He kind of got sidetracked.
Tell us what to look for. What's the kind of stuff you need most?
I was talking to some of the ladies this morning, and there really isn't much stuff that we can't use because we do so much different outreaches in Moldova. I mean, some of our girls love doing the camps, and they do camps all summer. And so I'm always looking for, they have a little shop that they give the kids prizes if they win certain things. And
They win points during the camp, and they can spend the points at the store.
A little bit like Chuck E. Cheese. You get all your tokens, and you can go claim something at the end. So they do something like that. So there's not really much that we can't use. We work with the elderly, fixing up, cleaning their homes and stuff like that. So the one thing we're not allowed to bring into the country is used shoes. We're not allowed to bring used shoes. So I'm always hunting for a good bargain when it comes to shoes. And, it's just like the shops that ladies, the Walmart is always my go-to place as well to get, good bargains and stuff like that. I also have another store, I don't know if you have it here in Florida, called Dirt Cheap. And that is another store that
I call it cheap as dirt.
Yeah, he can never remember the name of it. But I don't know if you have one here in the state of Florida. But shoes. We do get a lot of clothes donated to us. But if you ever see any bargains on shoes, all sizes, Jeans. And another thing, I really don't get a lot of men's clothes. I wonder why that is. I get tons of ladies' clothes, but there always seems to be a shortage of clothes for boys and for men. So if any of you men, ladies, if you want to give your husband's closet a good clean out, we'd be happy to take the clothes off your hands and put it to a good cause. Amen.
Well done. She is the hero of what we do. She spends every day. In fact, we've just moved up to Tennessee, and we've occupied a church building, and the old church is now our warehouse. And the church was seated with 500 people, so it's much bigger than our last warehouse. And I walked in the other day, and I almost fell over because Chrissy had been to work. And I said, Chrissy, this isn't big enough. So anything you can do to help us in that regard would be helpful. I shouldn't have to add this, but I'm going to. Please don't give us junk. Okay? These are God's children. He is the father of the fatherless. And how you treat, listen to me, how we treat an orphan is how God is going to treat us. We have been given Christmas packages, sealed. We don't give out Christmas packages unless we open them first, because we've had probably getting me talking in tongues. We've had Christmas boxes that Chrissy's opened, and it's had dirty underwear in it. Just the most horrible things. And I thought, what kind of mind would put this stuff into a box and give it to a little kid that's living at the edge of extinction? And Christmas, the only time when we can walk in there and let them be a young person, a kid, and there's dirty underwear inside it. So if you're going to give stuff to us, give it as unto the Lord, because that's exactly what you're doing. And we are hoping, our container situation has been terrible. How many heard about the container mess up around the world, and there's hundreds of ships off all of the ports and stuff? Well, it caused our Christmas container to be late. They picked it up. Listen to this. They picked it up, and whenever they got it, it literally left. An hour later, they called and says, look, we don't. Hello, there you go. We don't have a boat that's going there right now. We're going to hold it. Instead of putting it in Savannah, we're going to hold it in Charlotte. And we're going to have to charge you rent for the container. If they could have just told us to keep it to save us, the costs. And so in Charlotte, because it's closed, they've got to fumigate it. Don't ask. So in Savannah, when they fumigated, it cost $250. When they fumigated in Charlotte, it cost $1,600. So between those costs, our container cost went from $6,500 to $16,500. It jumped $10,000 in costs. And they says, we can't promise you when it's going to get there. We just don't know what, we'll just have to see. And after a couple of weeks, they called us and said, we just want you to know we found a spot on a boat that's on its way. And it went to Turkey, and it got stuck in Turkey. Then it ended up going to Odessa, that you're watching in the news, and you'll be watching in the next few days. Russia's about to bomb and flatten Odessa. We have a home there, and we've been rescuing girls in Odessa. And they are coming by sea and by land. And Odessa is called the Pearl of the Black Sea. It is a stupendous city. Beautiful. Kyiv, that they're bombing to oblivion right now. They're flattening a 2,000-year-old city. They are bombing to pieces. Every landmark they've bombed, everything that's sacred to the Ukrainian people, that has value to their history, is already gone. They are systematically targeting everything that it's like flattening the White House and flattening the Capitol building and taking the faces off the statues out at what do you call it again? Mount Rushmore. That's what they're doing right this minute. So please pray. Please pray. As Chrissy said, she went up there, and I did send her up. I knew she'd be in and out before everything broke loose, because I knew that Odessa would come after the eastern part of Ukraine. And no one, our house parents, no one that we spoke to, knew that this was happening. They would say, they will not do this to us. We are their cousins. They will not destroy our country. And they did not know until the first missile blew up. They were totally caught. Everyone in Ukraine. I've never seen anything like it in my life. And so our young people in Ukraine, we initially had to send them out into the country, into villages for safety. We had some Christian folks that took them in. And as this thing went on, and we saw the nature of the bombardment of the Russians. They are grinding this country to dust. What they're hoping for is they're hoping for the whole country to be depopulated. So right now there's 1.5 million refugees. They want it to be 20 million refugees. And then that way they will fill the void of Ukrainians with Russians. And by doing so, Ukraine becomes a Russian country. So that's the plan. That's what you're watching happening just now. So the more of the refugees are being taken away, the better they like it, because they are doing this for a purpose. And the sad thing is that no men are allowed out of Ukraine. From 18 to 60, if you're a man, you are not permitted to leave the border. You've got to stay and fight and die, because this thing will grind on for months. Unless they surrender, which I don't think. That young man that's a president, I think he's an amazing guy. He is filling me with awe. But they will grind this thing down to dust. And so what happened was we started trying to get our kids out. And the kids in our homes in Moldova, because they've been helping people all these years, they know how to care for people. They know how to cook. They know how to deliver. So we turned all our efforts from going to the villages locally to going up to the border, which is 2.5 hours away from Vatra village. Do you have a picture of Vatra village to show them what we have? Just let them see. That's our homes. That is a village of homes that we have. And girls, and there's one house that's a boys' home. But the girls that are about to be put on the street, and the traffickers get them and use them 30 to 50 times a day. We take them there and we put them back in school, and they finish their education, and we tell them, if you're born, God has a plan, you're not a mistake. When they're in the orphanages, the orphanage workers tell them all the time, you're worth nothing, you're garbage, your mother didn't want you, your father doesn't want you, you're trash. Nothing plus nothing will always be nothing. And when they come to us, we say, if you are born, God has a plan for your life. You are not a mistake. God has a purpose for you. And they are being transformed by the gospel of Jesus Christ. So what happens is, in this home, I think Ulazana's been here in the past. She is right now up to her nose in this war effort. And she is amazing me at the hardship they are enduring. So at the moment, our kids are working up at the border. So what happens is people are walking from the war zone, or they start out in a car until they run out of gas, and they abandon their car on the side of the road and they keep walking. Their phones no longer work because there's nowhere to charge them. There may be no cell towers to give them signal. Put yourself in this position. You have got 10 minutes to get out of your house and never go back again. 10 minutes. What are you taking with you? Do you take clothes, or do you take passports and paperwork and proof of who you are? So these mothers, because the dads can't come, they're off to fight. These mothers are grabbing what they can and what they can carry. So if you have 2 babies, you got to push a baby buggy for 50 miles. Did you see the story of the little boy that traveled 600 miles by himself? Did you see that story? Did you see that little boy? You never saw that? This little boy, a wee boy, his mother couldn't go. And she put a name and a phone number of someone that she knew in Poland or wherever. And this little boy walked 600 miles, hitched a ride, and ended up at the border, and there's a video of him weeping, walking all by himself, just a little boy. And we had a situation the other day that Ulazana called me, and she was weeping on the phone. This woman came with a little boy, and she came into the reception center where you take down I don't know why they do it, but they do. And she could hardly speak. And she's talking in broken sentences. Family dead, all gone. And this little boy standing beside her, just looking. and he's urinating. He's peeing on the floor nonstop, no longer able to control his bodily functions. And he had been struck mute by what he had seen. And what he'd seen was every other member of their family had been killed in front of them. And this woman had taken our boy. His name was Omar. Do we have a picture of that, Andrew? I don't know if we have or not. I don't know what we have. We are overwhelmed by this stuff. It's coming in so fast. Since I talked this morning, I've been shown other vehicles. So we're as everything's in a fluid situation. And this mother, Ulazana, called me and she says, Dad, we don't know what to do with this little boy because he's hiding between the bed and the wall and he won't come out. And we put food on the bed to see if he'll put his hand up and get something to eat. And he's just sitting squished back between the bed and the wall, too afraid to move. And his name is Omar. And if you saw a picture of Omar and my grandson, Rowan, they look like they could be twins. And the only difference is because Rowi's been born here and Omar's been born there. And I called the other day and I says, what's happening with the mom and Omar? And she says, oh, Dad, they just were put in a bus and they're gone. We don't know where they are. It's a war zone like Germany in the last World War. This is like a holocaust of a whole generation of people. And America, the thing that is so sad is America has waited too long to help. We should have started slowing Putin down when they've been gathering. How long have you had them gathering at the border? It's been months. But because we don't have strong leadership, this doesn't go away. This thing is not going away. It's going to get worse. And now you can't stop them because if you put planes in there, American planes would clean the whole thing up in 2 days. We've been watching the ineptitude of their forces. One good thing out of this, we've been shown that the Russian army can't fight because volunteers and farmers are stopping the Russians in their track, and they've been trying to get Kyiv for days and days and days. Every night I go to bed, and the last thing, this is the night that Kyiv will fall, and the next morning it's still there, and that young president is still standing on talking about it. But that's a positive thing out of this. But here's the problem. Whenever you see Odessa go in the next few days, and you'll see it, Odessa is going to fall because Odessa, where our home is, has 70% of the traffic of trade into Ukraine comes through Odessa. The reason why I'm in Odessa is because Chris and I were coming back from Moldova, and the immigration officer said, where have you been? I said, we've been in Moldova. And he's about to stamp my passport. And he went, where? I said, Moldova. He said, are you kidding me? Moldova? I said, yes, sir, Moldova. And I'm thinking, whoa. And he says, I just transferred up from the Caribbean. And we intercepted a container. Listen now. A container, 40-foot container, from Odessa in the Ukraine with 38 Moldovan girls in it. You go and look at your map and see how far that has come. That's in the Black Sea, through the Bosphorus, where Istanbul is, or Constantinople, all the way through, past Greece, in Italy and Spain, out in the Atlantic Ocean, all the way across the Atlantic Ocean, down to the Caribbean. 38 girls sat in a dark container. And we went through the immigration. I'm standing at the baggage claim with Chrissy. And she says, and I couldn't speak, I was stunned. And she says, I guess we're going to Ukraine, are we? I says, that's where we're going next. And we went up and got a house that sleeps 24 girls. And so we managed to get them all out, so they're no longer in Ukraine. They've all been moved to the village. We've just finished a new house at Vatra village. And so the house mother, Maria, as Chrissy said, she is now the house mother. Instead of being in Ukraine, she's in Moldova. And all the kids that she had in Ukraine are now in Moldova. And they are now buying stuff. The other day we got a phone call from a new center that's opened. I mean, they'll come into this church and say, we need this church. And we'll take all the pews out. And this whole church will be cots for people to sleep in. And what had happened it was a sports place. And the woman had babies who had run, and the shock of having to run away. If they were breastfeeding, their milk dried up, and so their babies had no food, and they had no diapers. You imagine sitting for days and days and days with no diapers for your kids. And one of our girls, Jazgul, is serving on a government committee trying to respond to the emergency. And it's Moldova is the poorest country in Europe, and they just don't have the resources on the ground. So she called me, woke me up in the middle of the night. She says, Dad, she says, I've just been told about this new place that's opened, and there were no diapers and milk for the babies. So I says, don't call me again and ask. Do it. So they went out and bought pallets of diapers and milk, and the kids from Ukraine who had just escaped up to our homes in Moldova were the ones that went and handed out the milk and the diapers to the Ukrainian folks. So Ukrainian refugees from our homes went to this place and ministered to refugee moms with their babies. That's how you break the cycle of sorrow and pain and suffering, by making them give. So this church has been part of our ministry for so many years. Your pastor has known and been part of what we've done. And I didn't ask this. As I said, I've talked about Moldova, and no one knows where Moldova is. You will hear about Moldova right in the next couple of weeks. You are going to hear about Moldova, because all indications that we are getting is that Moldova is going to be taken by Russia next. Once they get Odessa, you're only 2 hours away from Moldova. And I'm working just now, and I need you to pray for me to give me guidance, because now we are talking about 70, 80 people whose lives are in our hands. The decisions I'm going to make in the next few days will decide. And we're trying to find a place in Romania, which is one more country over, which is in the European community and is in NATO. And we're hoping to find a hotel or a children's camp or something to transfer all our kids out safely. A church called me this morning, and they are a very small, poor Pentecostal church, and they have no transportation, and they're overwhelmed with refugees because the churches are helping, and they've got no way to move the refugees. So they called me today and says, is there any way possible we can get a van? This morning. So I came in and I showed Pastor David the information I got from one of our house parents, Pavel, is out today looking for a van. And it's like $14,000 or $15,444 is what we need today to buy that van. We have been spending $10,000 a day just for food. We had to buy a van that holds 2 tons of food just to go and pick it up and deliver it. So we are running as fast as Christy said. We're not a big organization, but I'll tell you what, our heart is as big as the world. And we're doing as much as a lot of big organizations that speak a lot and aren't doing as much as they say. And that's important. So at the end of this service, we are going to receive an offering. And I pray, wouldn't it be crazy if this church, how many knew that God knew this was going to happen before I set out to come here for this Sunday? How many know that God knows all things? Wouldn't it be crazy if this church were able to say, that's our van, and we are helping deliver refugees out of hell into hope? And so at the end of the service, we'll be talking about that again, and I pray that you'll give freely. I want you to watch a wee video that we did. All of these videos you see us producing, and if you go to our website, The Orphans' Hands, you'll see so many videos. What happened was a young boy called Valentin came to our home, an orphan boy, and he began to show an interest in photography. So we got him a camera, and then he wanted to have video, and we got him a video camera. So all of the videos you see us producing, we don't spend tens of thousands of dollars sending a team over there and having them produce this polished Hollywood stuff. Our own kids do this. Ulizana, the girl that has been here, she is like the producer. Dasha, who is working, she's from Moldova, was an orphan. She works now on the team here, and she's the liaison person between Ukraine and Moldova. And so we formulate, or Dasha will say the kids have made a new video. And so they write this stuff. Jazgul is the house parent that speaks, and they edit it, and they send it to us as you see it. So this isn't us telling them what to do. This is them doing it all by themselves. Watch this video, and you'll get an idea of what it takes to help these people. Watch this.
When you can hear the guns of war all day and night? What do you do when you are working all day and night helping people who have in a few hours gone from normal families with a job, a house, a car, a dad, to being homeless, countryless, fatherless? Our kids are there right now. Apart from the ones who are working up at the border, helping Moldova's share of 1 million refugees, our precious kids got together in one of our homes and prayed. Oh, how they prayed. They prayed for the devastated families they're helping. They prayed for Ukraine, that this butchery would stop. They prayed for their little country to be spared. And they prayed for you. They know that every single thing they give out to the refugees came from your generosity. They are your hand, God's hand extended into the middle of insanity. They prayed that you wouldn't get weary of giving. They prayed they wouldn't be forgotten. As this carnage greens on, and as we witness the mindless, heartless destruction of an entire nation, we need your help desperately. The flow of support is slowing. The consequences of this is dire. We committed to give out $10,000 a day in food and desperately needed supplies such as diapers, sanitary wipes, clothes, and blankets. It seems as if we may fail. Please pray for the kids at Vatra village as they pray for you. Your gift will support our generosity toward the care of lost souls who have walked away from everything just to live. We need you. Thank you.
When this first happened, we had money sent. Churches sponsored a day. Other people gave. And what they're referring to is at the end, from Wednesday forward, this is just brand new from Moldova. From Wednesday forward, our giving started slowing down. America has got a 7-second attention span. And things move on and news happens and something else takes over. And the government counts on that. The government counts that you'll forget all the stuff that they've done. That's what they hope, that we forget about it. So if you could help us, we need food, desperately need food. We've just opened a brand new house called Betzer House, named after Dan Betzer from Fort Myers, Florida. Great man of God. He retired and we built that home to honor him. And we thought we would be taking 15 more girls in from Moldova. We had no idea that the bottom part of that house would be full of food. And the bedrooms of the house would be full of orphan refugees from Ukraine. And I told them, and this was what made them do this video. I didn't tell them to make the video, I just told them the circumstance, that money was slowing down as far as buying food. And that was their response, and that's why she talked about, they know how much food we're buying a day because they're buying it. And we're just praying that God somehow will help people to start giving. and allow us to buy more food. But the crisis I'm facing today that woke up with me this morning is that there's a church that needs a van to move people. And we found one that can be bought today. If I can get out of this service as soon as we finish, I'll contact Pavel and say, buy it. And by God's grace, if you can help us to get this van. Someone in this room may be blessed enough of God to say, I'll take care of the van, let the rest of the offerings go towards food. Whatever you feel, God, speak to your heart. If you're in this room and you're in a position to do this, this is why God blessed you. If He can't trust you to help people that are dying, running with their babies, being blown to smithereens, the Russians, they're making corridors to escape, okay? Humanitarian corridors. And then they're mining the corridors with mines. So as kids are walking, they're having their legs blown off. They're being shot as they run. And if we can't see that and respond to it from our heart, I've been living and not sleeping for days and weeks since this started. And we just need, if you could, pray with us. There's another way you can help us, this is going to go on for months. And we have young kids that we need to support. We've got a card that says you can change a life for $1 a day. The thing we need past this crisis is undergirding support that will allow us to continue to minister and reach out to these people. And this card, you giving $1 a day, won't change your life. But to mothers like Omar's mom, it does. And there's not one family in here. The government can charge us $5.50 a gallon and we'll pay it. And we get so caught up with our need thinking, well, oh my goodness, I've got to cut back. This is not the time. That's what they want. They want us to compromise and get ourselves small-minded, and then they can control us in another area of our lives. They've made us wear masks. They've made us take vaccinations. They've made us stop church. It's all about social control. I come from a socially controlled country. My dad died in Scotland 22 years ago. He was sick. He had diabetes and his kidneys stopped functioning. Listen to me. I flew home from Scotland to the hospital in Aberdeen, and I spoke to the doctor, and I says, put him on dialysis for a day. Let him take the strain off his kidneys. And the doctor laughed in my face, and he says, are you kidding? What do you think this is? Your father's an old man. He's 71 years of age. We can't put him on we don't have the money to put him on a dialysis machine. And one of the greatest preachers the world has ever known, my dad, Simon Peter Cameron, died at 1 o'clock in the morning because socialism said he wasn't worth saving. And that's what they want to do to you. That's what they're trying. This is social control. And we need to stand up and say, no, sir, this is the United States of America. We are one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, and we're not bowing down. Come up here, Rowie, will you? This is my grandson. He's going to be helping Dasha and Galina to give out cards. He and I are 60 years to the day apart. He was born on the worst day of my life. The worst day of my life. I lost everything on the day he was born. And God gave me him as a gift that told me that what I was losing was stuff and what I was gaining was immortal. And he is his granddad's pal. We are inseparable. He goes all the time, where's Granddad? If I travel somewhere, he'll say, what? What's your name?
Rowan.
Rowan Cameron.
Rowan Cameron.
Cameron, oh Lord, help us. Get out of here. These Americans are changing how you talk. You need to stop that nonsense and learn to speak properly, like your granddad. He's going to be helping Dasha and Galena. If you'd like to help me support these kids from the orphanages that we help, and I'll allow them to be God's hand extended. Just put your hand up right now, and they'll give you a card. And Roy will run all over the place and give you one. You say, Philip, he's just a boy of 6. Exactly. I want him to know that he has part in rescuing and redeeming young people on the other side of the world. And he knows. He knows what he's doing. Galena, over here, was abandoned by her mother when she was 3 years of age at the gates of an orphanage. Dasha's mother abandoned her. He's abandoned the rest of the 4 kids. 3 were abandoned all at one time. And we put windows in the largest orphanage in Moldova. And after we did this, 391 windows, there was a park bench outside the orphanage. And there was 18 girls that were all being put on the street after they painted. The last thing they do was to paint their dorm. And Dasha was on that seat. And her cousin Nadia was on that seat. And I chose them off of that park bench. Nadia is now in charge of the work in Moldova. And Dasha does all she writes books and does the liaison work between Moldova and America, and allows us to be much more efficient than we would be. Big organizations don't have the sensitivity. Come up here a second, Yemi. I just remembered you. My son Andrew. I adopted Andrew when he was 3 years of age in Romania. This is the book on his story. If you want to have a book that will blow your mind, this book here called Our Bummer Lamb. And we adopted him starving to death in an orphanage. That's his picture. And just a few years ago, this girl showed up in my life. And her name is Yemi. And she is from Ethiopia. And she hitched my boy. She caught him. And they are getting married when?
April the 9th.
April the 9th. Andrew and Yemi are getting married. So as you leave, wish the blushing bride congratulations. Anyone else need this card? Take this card if you would, fill it out. Go back to the table and give it to Andrew, or my wife is back there. If you fill it out today and give it back to us, any of the books that we have on the table, we'll be happy to give to you. Back there, we have new t-shirts, all new designs from the last time we were here. And we also have hoodies. Not hoodies, hoodies. And for one day a year, you all Floridians need a hoodie. And God ordained it in His wisdom for me to be here to get you a hoodie. There you have them, do you? Stand up and spin around. Look. Model A, wearing a hoodie from the orphan's hands. Come on, stand up. Model B, wearing a hoodie from the orphan's hands. So get one afterwards. And the pastor's coming just now to receive this critical offering. If you had lost everything you possessed and were sitting in a church with no way of moving, and the church was too poor to move you away from this border, wouldn't you want someone? Everything you give in this offering is going to help us buy a van. If someone is speaking to God to buy it, everything else you give in this offering is going to go and buy food. We are in a life and death struggle at this moment. Let the Lord Jesus speak to you. Thank you so much.